Alright, we're going to start with Module 2, Lesson 6, and we're going to start right here in your packet, and we're going to first talk about this example. So the picture below shows what's happened when there's a 180-degree rotation around center O. O is right here, okay? And this is our original angle, and it's been rotated. So I'll show you what that looks like, okay? We're talking specifically today on this one about degrees, rotations of 180 degrees. So if we take our angle, we have P, we have Q, we have our angle, and we rotate it 180 degrees. This is positive, so I'm going to go counterclockwise. It ends up like this. Okay, so Q prime is here, and P prime is here. And this becomes angle N. Now, a couple things I want to talk to you about this that are important to know. Okay, first thing is when we rotate an angle, okay, whatever this angle measure is, it's shown by one arc mark, is the same as this angle measure right here with one arc mark. So, angle M equals angle N. Okay, they are equal, they're congruent. Okay, when we rotate this of 180 degrees, if you look here at this line, Q and Q prime are on the same line. When they're on the same line, that means they are collinear. Q and Q prime are collinear. Okay, they're on the same line. P and P prime are also collinear. They're on the same line. Okay. When we rotate of 180 degrees, it's very important that you know that the angles are going to be the same. Okay, and when they're across from each other, you guys should know what type of angles they are. You studied this in 7th grade. Those angles, angle M and angle N, are vertical angles. They're vertically across from each other. If you turn your paper like this, they're vertically across from each other. Okay. Let's look down at example 2 at this diagram. The picture below shows what happens when there's a rotation of 180 degrees around center O. So we have point A and A prime. Okay, that's a rotation. We have P and P prime, that's also a rotation. So essentially, we rotated these 2 points 180 degrees over to here. Okay, and things special that we need to talk about here is when we rotate 180 degrees on a coordinate plane, okay, something special happens to the coordinates. So let's look into that. So P, the coordinate was negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So the P was negative 4, 3, and P prime is 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So 4, negative 3. Let's look at A and A prime as well. A is at negative 4, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. And A prime is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. So when we look at this, okay, we can see that what happens to the coordinates. So if we look at this, negative 4 became positive 4, 3 became negative 3. Negative 4 became positive 4, and nothing happens when it was a 0. So when it's a 180 degree rotation, the signs change from the original coordinate. So for 180-degree rotation, the signs of the original coordinate change or become the opposite. Okay, and here's an example. So if I have a point and we're going to say it's A, B, it changes and becomes the opposite. So this is positive. Well, let me just do this. This is negative, so it becomes positive. This is positive, so it becomes negative. The signs change. Everyone good with that? Okay. And just like before, any angles that were the same, are the same. So this angle is the same as this angle. This was a right angle, so this is a right angle. This angle up here is the same as this angle down here. When I put the same number of arc marks, those are called arc marks. When there's 2 here and 2 here, that means that those angles are the same. There's 1 arc mark here and 1 arc mark here. Those 2 angles are the same. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to actually work through exercises 1 through 9 together. So go ahead and flip the page. Okay, use your transparency, rotate the plane 180 degrees about the origin. Let this rotation be rotation of the origin. What are the coordinates for the rotation of this point? So I'm actually going to label this point, and I'm going to label it X. Okay, and X is at 2, -4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my transparency. Okay, I'm going to mark 2, -4, and I'm going to mark my origin with crosshairs. Okay, so I'm going to move it 90. 90 degrees would be this way, 1 quadrant, and then I'm going to move it again 90. That would move it to the 2nd quadrant. So this is the location of where my new coordinate will be. Now I don't have to move it to the bottom because there are grid lines, so I know exactly where it's going to be. It's going to be at -2, +4. So what I would do is I would take my writing utensil, and at -2, +4, I'd put a point. I'd label it X prime, and you can label it here -2, 4. But I also want you to put it over here. So X, and this is important on how you write this. I want you to get used to this. X, which was 2, -4, becomes X prime, which is -2, 4. So the sign, the X coordinate sign was positive and became negative. The Y coordinate sign was negative and it became positive. Both signs switched. Okay? So now on number 2, we're going to do the same thing but without using a transparency. So because we've already talked about what happens to the signs here and in example 2, this should be pretty easy. And I'm going to label this Y. So Y is at -3, 5. And because of what we talked about here, the signs change. So this is -3, so Y prime will be 3. Negative becomes a positive, and this is a +5, so we're going to get -5. We're just going to change the signs of the coordinates. So now I'm going to graph this. Y prime is going to be at 3, 1, 2, 3, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. y prime, and we're going to label that, oh, you can't see that. So 1, 2, 3, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and it's going to become 3, negative 5. Okay, so there's 1 and 2. Let's look at 3 and 4. Okay, let the rotation be, or let rotation O be the rotation of 180 degrees around the origin. So we're just going to rotate, let L be a line passing through 6, 6, parallel to the y-axis. So we're looking at this line up here at the top, and we're going to rotate it 180 degrees around the origin. Now let me just point out, the origin is in the middle, where the x-axis and the y-axis come together. So let's look at how this happens. You can do this two ways. We can do this with the transparency, like this, and we can do the crosshairs, and we could do, this is a 90 degree, right here, rotation, 90, see it makes a right angle there, and then 180 degrees would be like this, okay, and this is where L prime would go, alright. Notice that this line is parallel to the line above it, okay. They are both parallel to the x-axis, which is right here, okay. So our L prime would be down here, now, we could have done this another way. Because we know it passes through negative 6, 6, okay, so negative 6, 6, we could just change the sign. So negative 6 would become a positive 6, positive 6 would become a negative 6. So negative 6, 6 was right here. This, and that line goes through it. Our second one is 6, negative 6, which is right here, and our line goes through there. Okay. 4. Okay. This one I'm going to do without the transparency so you can kind of see what happens. If you need to use the transparency, by all means use, or sorry, sheet protector. I keep saying transparency because that's what it says, but we're using sheet protectors. Okay. We're going to rotate the line L 180 degrees, and line L passes through 7, 0. Okay, so 7, 0 is right here. 7, 0. And it's parallel to the y-axis. So here's the y-axis. It's parallel to the y-axis again. Okay, and we're going to rotate this. And when we do a 180 degree rotation, all we're doing is changing the signs. So it was positive 7. So now it becomes negative 7. It's 0. 0 does not have a sign, so we just put the 0 here. So at negative 7, 0, which is right here, the line goes through that point, but it also has to be parallel to the y-axis and the other line. So because it has to be parallel to those two, it's going to be a vertical line like that. So we would just draw a line through that point like this, and this would become L prime. Alright, moving on to number 5. Okay, let the rotation O be a rotation of 180 degrees around the origin. These are all around the origin because it's easy to pick out the origin. Okay, line is passing through 0, 2, which is here, parallel to the x-axis. Okay, this line is parallel to this line, and we're going to rotate it 180 degrees. I'm not going to use the transparency. So 0, 2. All you have to do is change the signs of these numbers. 0 does not have a sign, so it remains 0. 2 is positive, so it becomes -2 here. So 0, -2 is right here. It should be parallel to the x-axis and line L. So we would draw our line. And I like to use a straight edge because it helps me make sure that I don't draw crazy lines. Okay? It would pass right through that point. Well, not with that pin, apparently. It'll pass through that point right there, and we'll label it L prime. Do not forget to label your points. Number 6, okay, same thing, exactly the same thing, except for it's a different point, and now instead of having a horizontal line, we have a vertical line. Okay, and we did one of these examples together. So we're doing a 180-degree rotation. That's our angle of rotation. Our center of rotation is the origin. Line L passes through 4, 0. And actually, this should say -4, 0, because this is -4, 0. Okay, so -4, 0. We're going to start off with that. And then we're going to change it. We're going to change the sign. So it was -4, so it becomes +4. The 0 doesn't have a sign, so it stays 0. So at 4, 0, right here, is where our line is going to pass through. Now it was a vertical line to begin with. It's parallel to the y-axis, so it should be a vertical line to end with and parallel to the y-axis. Okay. And let me show you, I will show you why that happens. Okay, let me draw on this line, and then you can see L prime. Let me show you how that works. Okay, make sure you understand why that happens. There's our line, there's our crosshairs. That's 90 degrees. One quadrant, one turn, two turns, two quadrants, that's 180 degrees. That is showing that it rotated to the point, through the point that we found over here. Seven, okay, same thing, lots and lots and lots of practice. So actually, well, we'll do these two together because this last one is a little crazy. So on this one, 180 degrees, angle of rotation, center of rotation is our origin. We're going to start with 0, -1, which is right here. And we're going to rotate it. And now, these haven't been asking questions. Oh, yes it did. Huh? Yes it did. 5 and 6 did ask questions. Okay, so go back to 5. It says, is L parallel to the rotation of L, or L prime? Are L and L prime parallel? Yes, they are. So L is parallel to L prime. Same thing here. Is L parallel to the rotation of L? Are those two lines parallel? Yes, they are. L is parallel to L prime. Now we can go on to 7. Okay, so 7 asks us to move it, and then again asks us if it is parallel. So we're starting off with the point 0, -1. I already put that right here. We already know it's 180 degrees around the origin. So I'm going to change this. It's still going to be 0. -1 is going to become +1. So my point is now going to be right here. Okay. Oop. You have so many straight edges in your boxes, it's amazing. Okay, and that would be L prime. And the question asked, is L parallel to the rotation of L? So is L parallel to L prime? Yes. L is parallel to L prime. If you want to write out the word parallel, that's fine with me, or you can just use the symbols. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing here that we did before. And now this is not a vertical or a horizontal line in number 8, and that's totally fine. The same principle still applies, okay? But because of that it is a diagonal line, I would ask that you pick at least 2 points to change if you're not using your transparency. So I'm going to show you on the transparency first, and then I will show you with the points. Okay? So with the transparency, I'm going to trace my line. Oh, apparently I can't trace today. I'm going to have my crosshairs. Okay, here's 90. This makes a right angle there. Okay, and then here is 180. That is where they would be located for 180 degree rotation. Now, I'm going to show you how to do this without the transparency. Okay, so I'm just going to pick 2 points that actually go through the grid lines. Okay, so I see right here at 4, 3, X is at 4, 3, and I'm going to pick this point, Y is at 3, -2. So you're going to pick at least 2 points so that you get the angle of the line correct. And we're going to use the rule that we have used the whole time and change their sign. So I'm going to start with X first. So X is at 4, 3, and it's going to become X prime. And we're just going to change the sign of both of those letters so they're both positive. So we're going to get -4, -3. And then I'm going to do the same thing for Y. Y is 3, -2. I'm going to change the sign and it's going to become Y prime. So this is a +3, so it becomes -3. This is a -2, so it becomes +2. So then I'm just going to graph these two points. So -4, -3 is right here, and that's X prime. Y is at -3, 2, so -3, +2, Y prime. And then I would just take my straight edge, like I have been, maybe if I can pick it up, and I would just line it up with those points. And draw my line. And this line is L, so this line is L prime. Then it asks you, is L parallel to the rotation of L? Is L parallel to L prime? Yes. So over here you would write L is parallel to L prime. Don't let the wording get you mixed up. It's just asking, is L parallel to L prime? Are these parallel to each other? Yes, they are. Okay, so when we have a 180 degree rotation, okay, the lines are parallel. Now let's look at it when it's not on a grid. We're going to do 180 degree rotation around center O, and then we're going to answer this question. Alright, so I'm going to show you on your transparency because you need to be very precise. Can you guys answer that question already? If I do a 180 degree rotation around a center, will the lines be parallel? Let's look. Okay. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to show you where it's going to go. You need to draw it in. Okay. So, I have my line. I'm going to use the grid lines behind and make a crosshairs. And I'm going to rotate it. I'm not going to be able to do that. Scratch that. I can use my paper because this makes a 90 degree angle. Okay, so I'm going to turn it to where it goes this way. That is 90. Okay, and I'm going to turn it again so that the top is now towards the bottom. That is 180. Okay, so then is my purple line parallel to the original line. This is where L prime would go. Okay, and I'm going to show you that again. Alright, so you understand. Okay, my paper is, or my sheet protector is a rectangle. And I'm going to hold it at O, and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. So the top of my paper is going to go to the left side. That's 90 degrees. And if now I take the top of my paper and turn it to the bottom, that's 180 degrees. Okay, so when you take your paper and you turn it all the way to the bottom, that's 180 degrees. So this would be L prime. That's where you would draw it. And then is L parallel to the rotation of L? Is L parallel to L prime? Yes, it is. Okay, so L is parallel to L prime. So because we've done 9 examples of this, every time we do a 180 degree rotation around a center with a line, it maps L to L prime, so it moves L and becomes L prime, just like this did. Okay, and it makes them parallel. Okay. So, on our summary, a rotation of 180 degrees around center O is a rigid motion, okay, that sometimes if that will make the lines or the angles collinear, like we looked at in this example here. Okay, it makes them collinear, makes them on the same line when it's an angle, okay, and they touch the center. When it's a 180 degree rotation around the origin of a coordinate system or a point that's not on the shape, it makes them parallel, just like this example. It's on the origin makes this line parallel to this one. So when you rotate it, it becomes parallel to the original. Okay?